Good morning, folks. It's me, Christiana Gaudet. I am here live on Facebook. If you're watching in archive on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, thanks so much for being here with me. I appreciate it. This is something I do every Monday. It is your 3-card weekly reading. Today is Monday, January 20th. It's Martin Luther King Day. And this reading will be for all of us, the available energies around us for today through Sunday the 26th. Hey, good morning, Linda. It's so nice to see you. I hope you're doing well. So people are starting to come into the room, and I thank you guys so much for being here. Let me just share a couple of things before we get going with the reading. I want to remind folks that I will be on my January Tampa Tarot Tour this coming weekend. Friday through Monday, I will be in the Tampa area. I have a private location in Wesley Chapel to do private readings. I can also do house calls and parties. I will, of course, still be available for phone readings during that time as well. And we will have our meetup at Panera in Lutz Sunday afternoon. So I do hope to see you all who happen to be in the Tampa Bay area this weekend. Jan, you and I have a date. I'm looking forward to seeing you. And I do still have time on the schedule. So I hope people will reach out and schedule with me because I'd like to see you while I'm there. Yes, I will see you Saturday morning, Jan, and I am looking forward to it. Okay, so Marianne, nice to see you. Hey, Missy, glad you're here. Alicia, Carol, nice to see you. Thank you guys so much for being here. So I also want to remind folks that I am available for readings here in my Palm City office by appointment and also by phone, Skype, FaceTime, Messenger, WhatsApp. All you have to do is reach out. Good morning, Cindy. And I saw, you had that difficult health issue, Cindy. I remember thinking everything would be okay. And then I saw that you posted that everything was indeed okay. Thank goodness. That must have been horrifying. I am so glad you are well. Hey, Karen, hope to see you at Panera. Very good, very good. Irene, glad you're here. So, the 3-card weekly reading. This started, I don't know, a few months ago I started doing this, maybe more like 6 months ago. People had been asking for this for years and years and years. And I kept saying, I am not sure how we do a reading for general energies that big. But I thought I would give it a try, and it seems to make a lot of sense. That this weekly reading seems to resonate for people. I also like to do it because it is such a great teachable moment in how we put 3 cards together in a non-linear way. Hey, Tricia, nice to see you here. Dana, glad you're here. Hey, Nilsa, glad you're here. So we want to think about these 3 cards as representing the available energies for the week. If it resonates for you, if it makes sense for you, please do take it as a reading. And of course, if you want a more in-depth personal reading, I am available to you. Tasha, nice to see you. How are you doing? You're in Australia, aren't you? How are things going there for you? We're really all sending our prayers there. TK, nice to see you. What fun we had at the astrology class yesterday. That was so great. I really enjoyed that and was glad you were here. And, just to let you guys know some things we've got going on in February. On February 6th, we are doing a murder mystery party here at my office. There are tickets available for that. And I am also, on February 19th, teaching a class on tarot readings for personalities and relationships. We as tarot readers spend so much time talking about people's personalities and relationships and how they get along. Oh, Tasha, you're in the UK. Yes, okay. Glad you're safe. Glad you're good. But we are, of course, all sending our prayers to Australia. So anyway, tarot class on tarot readings and relationships. That'll be February 19th. Those tickets are available. You can find the event listings right here on my Facebook page and get tickets through Eventbrite. I also want to let you know that I have a very exciting announcement coming up this week. I'm not making that announcement right now. I'm just announcing that there will be a very exciting announcement. So stay tuned for that. And I want to remind you guys that I have a weekly newsletter, the Tarot Topics newsletter. It shows up in your inbox every Wednesday. You can sign up for it by going to my website, ChristianaGaudet.com. Betty, I wish you lived near me too. Oh, one more thing. Thank you guys so much, those of you who came to my YouTube webinar yesterday. The 4 Elements in the Major Arcana. It was well attended. We had a really good time. Thank you so much for doing that. I will be doing a monthly live webinar on YouTube. And I'm still on the process of sharing the links for those of you who didn't see it. You can watch it after the fact. I'll be sharing the links around. And thank you guys so much for helping to make that a success. Deirdre, nice to see you. Glad you are here. Okay. Hey, Brenda. Brenda, how are you? Nice to see you. All right. Here we go. I am working with my trusty Hanson Roberts Tarot, one of my favorite decks. And I think it's becoming the new workhorse. I've been working with the Morgan Greer, which I love, but it's getting a little worn. I tend to wear out a deck after a few months. And this one is not new, but it had just light wear, so I think it's becoming the new workhorse. Okay, so here we are. What cards help to describe the energy around us this week? Last week was a tough week. We had that Saturn-Pluto conjunction in Capricorn, made for some very difficult energy, didn't it? This week, of course, starting off with Martin Luther King Day, which does feel somber and reflective. So let's take a look and see what we've gotten. Oh, Brenda, nice to see you here. I was so glad to see you yesterday. Hadn't seen you in so very long, because of course you're a snowbird. And it was such a great class. Really enjoyed that. Mary Ellen Collins is a fabulous teacher. It was so nice to have her here. Hey, Puck, nice to see you. Okay, here we go. Our first card for the week, the 9 of Wands, or in this case, of course, it's the 9 of Rods. Wands related to the element of fire can be rods, batons, staves, all means the same thing. Here we have 9 of them. You know, I call this card the Wounded Warrior. And it really does speak to a heavy energy. We may all be feeling our wounds right now. We might be ultra sensitive. This is a card that speaks to defensiveness. And I think this week we want to be very, very careful about not being overly defensive. Whether that's on a personal level, a work level, a relationship level, even a political level. What did you mean by that? We need to be gentle with ourselves. We need to be gentle with each other. We need to recognize that we are all feeling a little wounded right now. Hey, Celeste, nice to see you here. Glad you're here. So, be patient. The 9 of Wands tells us to be patient with ourselves and others and with the process of change. The 9 of Pentacles tells us to take care of our wounds and recognize the wounds of others. I'm sorry, did I say Pentacles? I meant Wands. It's all about the Wands. I wish it were the 9 of Pentacles. The 9 of Wands tells us to be prepared. Sometimes you have to work when you're not feeling well. Sometimes you have to prepare for things that you didn't want to have to prepare for. So be prepared, be patient, be diligent, be defensive where you need to be, but don't be overly defensive. Does that make sense? Hey, Robin Renee, nice to see you here. Let's see what our next card is. I knew there were Pentacles coming. Brenda says, I know, my favorite card is the Nine of Pentacles. I love that Nine of Pentacles. And I think whenever I see a 9, it's my favorite 9. I like the Nine of Cups too. But the Nine of Pentacles is such a great, strong card. So whenever I say 9, I probably always want to follow it with of Pentacles, even though in this case it is the Nine of Wands. Hey, Terry, nice to see you. You're sick this week. Wasn't prepared for that. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Missy, gonna try, right? Yes. And it's funny, going back to this Nine of Wands, this sense of, sometimes we really do need to step up and defend ourselves. What is the difference between defending yourself appropriately versus not being overly defensive? I think this week we all have to work on finding that balance and finding that energy. Okay, so as I said, there are Pentacles here. The King of Pentacles. So this week we really want to focus on work. We want to focus on making sure we are being good leaders in taking care of ourselves, our bank accounts, our homes. We want to take care of our health. This is really about being a strong leader in the practical and physical matters. Cindy says we beat ourselves up through the spirit of offense. It's harmful if you let it be. It's such an interesting thing because, on one hand, I was really raised that we have to defend those who can't defend ourselves. We have to be good allies to people, and I agree with all of that. But on the other hand, I think that we need to be sensitive to the way that we speak, to the way that we present things. We need to try to use language that is inclusive. But if someone misspeaks, let's not beat them up. Let's be gentle with each other. Okay, Yvonne, I am pulling 3 cards for everybody. That's what we're doing right here. Okay, Celeste says she loves the Pentacles cards. Well, yes, you do, don't you? Remind me, Celeste, what sign you're born under. Are you born under an earth sign? I bet you might be. And you are, that sort of earthy nature girl person, aren't you? And the King of Pentacles, it's a funny card because it can have a little bit of an authoritarian, patriarchal vibe. But at the same time, it can tell us to nurture the earth. Okay, what's next? The 8 of Wands, and this goes back to that conversation. You are a Virgo. I was going to say, Celeste, of course you're a Virgo. Of course you are. Totally makes sense. Okay, so our final card for today, the 8 of Wands. And so it's funny how this comes together to really speak about communication, how we communicate. The 8 of Wands, of course, can talk about things happening quickly, being speedy. It can also talk about, not really knowing where we're coming from, where we're going. You just kind of have to let it fly. But there's also so much about communication in this card. And it's interesting that what we have here is this progression of wands. 8 of Wands, 9 of Wands. And, so you can tell a little story here where, man, I spoke without thinking and I caused damage to someone, right? Or someone spoke without thinking and caused damage to me. We do hurt each other with our words as well as with our actions. And so this card, the 8 of Wands, maybe reminds us to think before we speak. But when we look at these 2 cards together, we are also warned to maybe not take everything so darn personally. Now, what we see here too is sort of a dichotomy. If we look at the King of Pentacles, there's this very fixed, heavy energy here. But if we look at the Eight of Wands, there's this swift moving energy. So this week, look at what is feeling firm and fixed in your life and what is feeling swift. Where do you need to move the energy through? There is room for both. So we are looking here at healing our woundedness and trying not to wound others. But when others inadvertently wound us, trying not to be too defensive, being patient, being prepared. We are looking at paying attention to business, pay attention to your bank account, show up at work, do the work you need to do, and look at what is fixed in your life. Where do you want to be fixed and where do you need to be more flexible? Look at those things. And finally, there is also an opportunity to move some energy through, to get rid of things that are not serving you, to let energy change. We don't have to stay fixed in everything. There can be change and we can welcome change, and that's good. And to pay attention to our communication, to the way that we communicate, to make sure we understand how important communication is. And, I'm going to say another thing when I look at these cards as I think about watching your messaging to yourself. We spend a lot of time, probably more time than we spend talking to other people, we spend talking to ourselves internally. And sometimes our messaging toward ourselves can be pretty negative. I often say to people, if you said to a friend the things you say to yourself, well, you never would do that. You wouldn't treat a friend as badly as you treat yourself. And I think a lot of us are guilty of that. So maybe this week, watch what you're saying to yourself, because your words say to yourself become fixed in your energy and cause pain. So maybe treat yourself gently and speak gentle, loving words to yourself about yourself. How about that? Missy, thank you. Surgery went well, as you said. Oh, good. Thank you so much for letting me know. And the healing process is going great. Hallelujah. I'm so glad. The house buying is moving pretty swiftly this week as well. Oh, excellent. Very good. Thank you. And thank you for those words of confidence. I really appreciate that. You guys, thank you for meeting with me every week as we do this every Monday. I appreciate it. I will be back next Monday. And so for this week, we have our work cut out for us. Let's make it happen. Let's make it a good week. I will look forward to seeing y'all soon. Thank you so much.